Dear students, since last few days we have been discussing the botanical insecticides used in insect control, and today also in continuation to this I would be discussing another compound which is obtained from the plant Rhyenia. The root and stem of plant Rhyenia speciosa have been found to contain from 0.16 to 2% of insecticidal components. The most important of these is rhinodine. So, because it is obtained from the plant Rhyenia, this component is termed as rhinodine. The alkaloids are more stable on exposure to light and air than pyrethrum or rotenons and give longer residual toxic action. So, because they are stable when exposed in light and air as compared to pyrethrum and rotenons, so they have a longer residual toxic action. That means when they remain in the light and air exposed, their activity is prolonged. It is as such, it remains same because pyrethrum and rotenons, they are converted into non-toxic substances, whereas the residual effect of this particular compound of the rhinodine or the chemicals obtained from Rhynia plant, their residual toxicity or their action is far more longer. It is also less toxic to mammals than rotenone, so this also uh, helps in Rhynia being used more as compared to other botanical insecticides. Major use of Rhynia has been for control of European corn borer, sugarcane borer, and other such crop pests. It is effective both as contact and stomach poison. Rhynia comes from the woody stem of Rhynia speciosa, which is a South American shrub. Powdered Rhynia stem wood is combined with carriers to produce a dust or is extracted to produce a liquid concentrate. The most active compound in Rhynia is the alkaloid rhinodine, which constitute approximately 0.2% of the dry weight of wood. Now, the mode of action of Rhynia is a slow acting stomach poison. Although it does not produce rapid knockdown paralysis, it does cause insects to stop feeding soon after ingesting it. Little has been published concerning its exact mode of action in insect systems. This compound is also effectively synergized by piperonyl butoxide and is reported to be most effective in hot weather. As far as its mammalian toxicity is concerned, Rhynia is moderately toxic to mammals by ingestion and only slightly toxic by dermal exposure. Ingestion of large doses causes weakness, deep and slow respiration, vomiting, diarrhea, and tremors, sometimes followed by convulsions, coma, and death. Purified rhinodine is approximately 700 times more toxic than the crude ground or powdered wood and causes poisoning symptoms similar to those of synthetic organophosphate insecticides. So highly dangerous. Depending on exposure, organophosphate poisoning symptoms may include sweating, headache, twitching, muscle cramps, mental confusion, tightness in chest, blurred vision, vomiting, evacuation of bowels and bladder, convulsions, respiratory collapse, coma, and death. So these are so many symptoms of its poisoning to mammals. There is another chemical or the plant from which alkaloids are obtained, and that is quassia. The alkaloids are derived from two plants in South America, that is Pyrasma excelsa and Quassia amaxa. These alkaloids are water soluble and bitter compounds, and these also are used for the control of aphids and sawflies. So Quassia again is one of the botanical insects. Other plants from which certain chemicals have been extracted or the alkaloids have been extracted and they have been used for the control of insects include Ecorus calamus, Lobelia excelsa, Thevetia nerifolia, Now, Equorus calamus, commonly called as the sweet flag, it is common in Western Ghats and Nilgiris. Powdered rhizome dusks afford protection against stored grain pest. Infusion of this powder with soap controls aphids and caterpillars. Lobelia excelsa. Now this was found in west. This is also found in the Western Ghats. The leaves are chopped and soaked in water. The infusion has been found effective against aphids and mites. Similarly, the kernels of the plant Thevetia nerifolia have been observed to possess certain insecticidal properties, and they have been used effectively against the control of aphids, whiteflies, thrips, etc. Neem. Now, it was in the news for a very long time, and as far as his patenting was concerned, and this patenting was because of its so many uses, and one of the uses is its insecticidal properties, and the tree, the botanical name of which is Azadirachta indica. Various parts of this tree possess repellent and insecticidal properties. Seed and kernel powder are generally used. The chemical compound which is obtained from this particular tree is azadirachtin. Neem products are derived from the neem tree, Azadirachta indica, that grows in arid tropical and subtropical regions on several continents. The principal active compound in neem is azadirachtin, a bitter complex chemical that is both a feeding deterrent and a growth regulator. Millentriol, selenin, and many other minor components of neem are also active in various ways. Neem products include teas and dusts made from leaves and bark, extracts from whole fruits, seeds, seed kernels, and oil extracted from the seed kernel. The product known as neem oil is more like vegetable or horticultural oil and acts to suffocate insects. Neem and neem oil are often confused. Now, mode of action. Neem is a complex mixture of biologically active materials, and it is difficult to pinpoint the exact mode of action of various extracts or preparation. In insects, neem is most active as a feeding deterrent, but in various forms, it also serves as a repellent, as a growth regulator, oviposition suppressant, sterilant, or also as a toxin in killing the insect. As a repellent, neem prevents insects from initiating feeding. As a feeding deterrent, it causes insects to stop feeding. As a feeding deterrent, either immediately after the first taste due to the presence of deterrent taste factors, or at some point soon after ingesting the food due to secondary hormonal or physiological effects of the deterrent substance. Now, the feeding deterrency is at two stages. Right at the initial stage, when the insect starts feeding, so then its taste factors say no, it's very bitter. Something we cannot say that it analyzes it as bitter or something, but then yes, it stops feeding. Or after ingestion, then there is some physiological effect which produces this um, effect of stopping the feeding activity. As a growth regulator, neem is thought to disrupt normal development, interfering with chitin synthesis. Now, this could be one of the effects as a growth regulator. Susceptibility to the various effects of neem differs by species. So, different species have different of neem have different effects. That is, it could act differently for the killing of the insect or acting as a deterrent or repellent. Thank you.